Tales of Arise is everything I've ever wanted in a Tales game because it exceeds every expectation I have had. I've been let down by so many titles in the Tales franchise, such as me loving Tales of Symphonia and being really let down by Tales of Legendia, loving Tales of Vesperia, then playing Grace's F and realizing the only great thing about that is the combat system, loving Tales of Xillia 1 and 2, being phenomenally let down by Tales of Zestiria, and then being brought back ever so slightly, even though it's got a couple hiccups when it comes to excessively long skits, and a very, very, very love-hate relationship with the battle system of Berseria. So, all in all, why is Tales of Arise my favorite Tales game? Because it does everything perfectly. Without a hitch. Almost. Kinda. But it's worth it. Let's get into it. Before we kick this video off, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of you who watch my content. Honestly, all of you who've been subbing and liking and sharing my content and commenting and just being actively here. Like, it's really wild when I sit and think about like how much support and how much growth we've gotten over the last several years. I mean, we went from when we were at like 10 subs to here we are at we're over 12K, so it's wild, and I'm very appreciative of you guys. But anyway, that's not why you're here. You're not here because I want to be, CM Punk after he returned to wrestling in Chicago at All Out. No, we're not trying to be like that. What we're here to talk about right now is Tales of Arise, and why I really love this game, why I think it's a serious breath of fresh air, and it pays homage to the franchise's history, and every little game that you can think of, everyone you played, including the ones that are Japan exclusive, it pays homages to. And while paying homage to them, it's not stuck to being just another Tales title. It goes in a completely different, direction, and I'm very happy about it. In this video, we're going to be talking about it in this review for Tales of Arise. Before you do that, make sure you like the video, share it with someone you think would enjoy it, sub to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to support what we do have Patreon. We have channel memberships, which basically allow us to keep going with the show. And with everything we do here, it's not possible without you guys who are Patreon and channel members. We got merch too over on TeePublic and Teespring, so go check that out, especially if you're a wrestling fan and you got my CM Punk reference. I got some CM Punk style gear too. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the review for Tales of Arise.
So even if you don't mean to hurt somebody, if they touch you, they get electrocuted, huh?
Do you really think we wouldn't find out anything about you, Miss Shion Imaris? That's her name?
The story centers around a man named Alphen, who is initially a slave to a group of individuals known as the Renans, that hail from another planet. The Renans conquered Alphen's home world of Dana 300 years ago and have been cultivating and siphoning out the elemental energy from both the inhabitants of Dana and the planet itself. Upon meeting a mysterious woman known as Shion, Alphen is given the opportunity to liberate Dana and the various oppressed regions of the world and its people from the clutches of the Renans. Now, if you've been wanting a seriously deep and dark Tales story and has a love angle that's on the level of Tyr and Luke from Tales of Abyss, along with having some social commentary, then this is the game that's honestly for you. It fires on all cylinders and never lets up, especially when you get to the end, and it delivers what may be one of the greatest twists in not only the Tales franchise, but in JRPGs as a whole. Gameplay. So how does this game play? Well, if you're familiar with the combat in the last few entries, being Xillia 1 and 2, Zestiria and Vesperia, then you'll have somewhat of an idea of how this game operates, as the battle layout is most similar to those, yet is refreshingly different in how it plays, with you being able to free roam without needing to hold a button during battle, and the method of attacking is mapped to the shoulder buttons instead of face buttons. You'll be able to chain together different attacks with arts and calling your allies both in the active party and on the sidelines to jump in and do a devastating attack called boost attacks. Along with moving about freely, you'll also be able to utilize evasive maneuvers such as a dodge roll and a quick stepping ability, which allows you to get out of the way of attacks, allowing you to control the pace and flow of combat. As with any Tales game, combos are your bread and butter, and thus you should always experiment with different ways to attack and different pairing of characters to suit the situations that you'll end up in. Speaking of different characters, you're able to not only use Alphen, but also his 5 other companions that can switch between at any time. They make up a wide variety of character classes, from your ranged gunslinger, fisticuffs brawler, mage, dragoon, paladin, and more. Each of these characters plays significantly different from one another, and each one is a lot of fun to learn and figure out, with their differing mechanics and how they can be applied to the various type of enemies that you will encounter. You'll need to get used to the way arts and attacking works, as for every attack you do, you'll drain your art and skill meter, and must wait till it replenishes in a cooldown kind of way. While in battle and outside of it, you can pull up a menu to use your items such as apple and pineapple gels to restore your health and TP, which is this game's magic and art gauge. Or use items such as all divide that have all damage done and received to you and your enemies. There aren't any random battles, as all enemies are viewable on the field, and battles can be initiated by running into them or them running into you, allowing for normal battles. First encounters where you surprise the enemy, and also where the enemy can approach you from behind and surprise you. There are tons of mini games to dive into, just like any Tales game, with one of my favorite being fishing. I have no clue why I enjoy it as much as I do, but I do. Fishing minigames and JRPGs, I guess it just go hand in hand. There are a lot of side quests that are both interconnected with the main plot and interconnected with several other side quests that will ultimately yield a lot of insanely rewarding high-end equipment, especially in the late game. There's also cooking, which is a franchise staple that gives you various stat buffs and bonuses, such as gaining more gold, which is this game's currency, or experience, and etc. Skits are back and are properly done this time, unlike how they were done in Berseria, where good god, they were insanely longer than most anime cutscenes and the intros of these games, and not to mention the in-game graphic cutscenes. Those skits were sometimes a lot longer than those, and they dragged on, but if, the silver lining is the voice acting was stellar, but still. I prefer the way skits are done in this game, as skits here are short and to the point and reveal what they need to. The way skits look in this game is almost the same as how some skits look in Scarlet Nexus, cutscenes rather, not skits. In Scarlet Nexus, they look like they are done in a comic book style with cut in steel, showcasing various emotions and animations of the characters. If you're playing this on PlayStation 5, then you'll experience the way this game implements the haptic feedback capabilities of the DualSense controllers. It won't wow you on the level of Astro Bot or other games, but it's a pretty neat feature to be added in nonetheless. All in all, you're going to have a lot of fun getting into this incredibly meaty 60-hour plus title. Graphics. This is the most beautiful of all the Tales games, with an amazing level of detail given to the main characters and the environments that encompasses the worlds that they're in. The character models are a substantial step up from anything we've seen in the series, including the incredibly impressive Tales of Berseria, with its mixture of realistic proportions of the most recent Tales titles, and the cel-shaded outline look of Symphonia. The environments are amazingly well made, and some are just downright breathtaking. It just makes me wonder why this game doesn't have a photo mode, as it truly would benefit from one. Like every other entry in the franchise, Tales of Arise has an animated opening and cutscenes. However, I wasn't prepared for the incredible amount of cutscenes that are in the game for key moments, as it really goes a long way in showcasing this game's world, characters, and story. The other great part of this game is the performance of the game, as it runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second across platforms, unless you want to prioritize resolution, of which will cut the frame rate down to 30 frames per second. If you play this on Steam, then you won't have to worry about that, and there is a graphic slider that you can utilize. Audio. The voice acting in Tales games is either hit or miss, and in this case, the game is most definitely a hit with some of the best voice acting in the series yet. Every character has a voice actor that perfectly meshes with them, and their performances are some of the absolute best and really draw you into the situations that you're in. The game's musical score is simply majestic, and it really goes to great lengths to fit each and every scene and environment. The music has a grand orchestral feel and sound to it, and when it hits, man does it hit. All in all, the game has amazing voice acting and a strong OST, and you're just not going to dislike this at all. Downsides. The game has, for some odd reason, some texture pop-in issues, and occasionally it has instances where character models and environments, their details just don't fully load in. It isn't a constant occurrence, but it is annoying nonetheless if you play this on a beefed up PC. There isn't a lot of enemy variety either, so if you see any enemies in the first 10 hours of playing the game, then, well, don't expect a lot more than that, as you'll primarily just get color variations, and some enemies along the way, if you fight stronger versions of them, they have additional details here and there as the game progresses. If you're a series veteran of Tales or a fan of the Tales franchise, then this won't bother you. This is commonplace. However, newer players might be irked by this. The wrap up. The Tales series has always been an up and down experience, with some games being phenomenal, while others are perfectly serviceable, and others being downright, at best, mediocre. The last few Tales games have been a mixed bag, with the Xillia duology being the series' high point and Zestiria being a huge letdown for fans, even though I kind of personally enjoyed it to an extent. And Berseria being great, minus the insanely long skits and finicky battle system. Tales of Arise sits right up there at the top as one of the best entries in the franchise, delivering one of the most fresh and complex and deeply rewarding battle systems, along with an incredibly rich plot and lifelike characters that you will come to love. Hands down, Tales of Arise is the JRPG of the year, and honestly, no other game is touching it in this genre, and it will go down as a modern classic, and not only the series, but the genre as a whole. The verdict? Buy it. And that's it. That's my review for Tales of Arise. This game is simply, if you're a Tales fan, this is what you've been longing for. I know a lot of people love Berseria. It was substantially better than Zestiria. Just the skits and the finicky battle system. And honestly, if I were to, we're talking about Tales games in the West, rank them in the echelon, or put, just give my top Tales games that have released in the West: Tales of Destiny 2, or Tales of Eternia as it's known in the rest of the world, Tales of Symphonia, the first one, not the second. Well, technically, not sure if Dawn of the New World is considered mainline, or if it's escort title. I'm kind of confused because they don't use escort title, the naming convention, anymore. But I think it's still canon. I don't know. I feel like every other year, Bandai Namco is either taking it out or adding it into canon. Anyway, besides the point. So, Tales of Destiny 2, or Tales of Eternia, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of the Abyss, Tales of Legendia. I'm going to throw it out there. It's controversial. That's a controversial hot pick. Okay, that's number 4. Tales of Vesperia is absolutely my favorite Tales game of all time, just because Yuri Lowell is one of the most amazing main characters ever. Tales of Xillia duology, bangers, just absolute bangers. Tales of Grace's F because of the combat system, not the story. And Tales of Berseria. Oh, I mean, I could throw Tales of Zestiria, but I feel like I should keep that finger down because I think a lot of people will flame me for saying that. But those are my 7, 8. Damn, I can't count. Those are my 8 favorite Tales games in no particular order. And now this is going to be the 9th one, or 9th one that I really enjoy and I absolutely love. And it's up there. It's really high up there. It's not etching out Vesperia because I just love that game. But it's up there with Vesperia. This is one of the best entries. Now, if we were to include the Japanese only releases, that's a whole nother conversation for another video. But anyways, what do you guys think of Tales of Arise? Is it everything you wanted it to be? Are you a huge Tales fan? You loved it? Do you hate it? Do you what are your emotions? Tell me how you feel in the comment section below. And if you want to take it further, we got Discord, we got Guilded. Links for those are down below. And if you really enjoyed this video, do me a huge solid favor, hit the like button, sub to the channel, and ding the notification bell. That way you stay up to date on all the latest greatest content that comes from here, from reviews, podcasts, let's plays, live streams, impressions, watch-alongs, reactions, and so much more. So much different things that I do. It's hard to just keep it all in one go. And also, if you want to support what we do, you really enjoy the work that I put out. I am an independent games journalist. I'm not someone who just, hey, I'm a games journalist and I don't really play the games. I literally sit and play every game that I review, and every product I use, I put it through its paces because, I review computers, tech, and all kinds of different things. And, I'm just a guy out here in Hawaii who has a passion, who's doing this full time, and thanks to my Patreons and my channel members, they help me do this as a career. And if you want to support the work, if there's things in particular you'd like to see, if you want input on different things I'm doing, or if you want early access and behind the scenes on the projects I'm working on, consider becoming a channel member or a Patreon member today for as low as $5. That's the starting entry point, $5. They get you access to everything. And if you go up, that's different things like being a producer on the podcast and whatnot, where I talk to the voice actors, game developers, celebrities, and your favorite content creators, and so much more. So, all that being said, thank you guys so much for supporting my work, for coming through and watching this video. And yeah, that's it. Deuces wow, too sweet, be the elite. I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Mahalo for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate your support by those of you who like the videos, who watch them, who subscribe. And for those of you who are my Patreon supporters, thank you for your continued support because you help make this possible. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support what we do have Patreon on patreon.com/MikhailKasanova. We also have Coffee as well as Subscribestar. So there's various methods if you want to support the work that we do here. We also have channel membership, so make sure you check that out. That way you get up to date on all the latest and greatest content that comes here, and first, and exclusive content as well. And if you enjoy the work that I do and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So with that being said, Mikhail Kasanova, Hawaii content creator. I hope to see you on the next one. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ding the notification bell. And all that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.